Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Sasquatch Secrets. I'm your host, Nikki Colon, and I'm so happy you guys could be here. Look at that. Whoa, there's a lot of you there today. That's nice. Thank you so much. I see you, Sandra. I see you, Sasquatch Wizard. Henry, good to see you, Rabbit. Thank you all for being here. I got a great show for you tonight. We're going to be discussing the burden of proof. And it's going to take us into some of the same topics that we have talked about in the past, of course. But it's about those challenges and the responsibilities of proving Bigfoot's existence. Focusing on evidence and the skepticism that has become a kind of a bad word and a bad rap if you're a skeptic these days. But so what constitute proof was what we're going to go at. So let me bring on, if I can get to the right page here, my guest and new co-host of the show. Please welcome Just Kyle.
That picture just keeps following me, huh?
I don't have that many.
It seems
your stuff will kind of like evolve as we go out more and have more pictures and stuff. Yeah. But anyway, welcome.
There's more there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you sat there with the s'mores, for a little while.
I want everyone to know that I'm serious when I'm out in the field, and I only eat man food. So that wasn't a s'more. That was a piece of beef jerky.
Oh, man. You and Adeline were eating those things like crazy if you weren't dropping them.
I'm surprised we didn't. But thank you. Happy to be here. We'll get the show on the road. I've got a 14-month-old baby downstairs, so we'll see how long I get to be on.
To stay on. Well, hopefully for a little while anyway. And let's bring up this and let's do this one. How about that? Make us a little bit bigger there. So, burden of proof. And I guess we need to start by giving a good definition, because we all know that the burden of proof deals with evidence. It deals with how we present proof of what we're saying. So according to, definition, burden of proof for science is if a person claims that a Bigfoot exists and is real, then the burden is on that person to supply some support for that claim. Some evidence or proof that others can and should examine before accepting it. And it seems simple enough. If you say this is this is what you saw, can you prove it, right? Because then it just becomes a story. It just becomes an encounter, something you've done or seen, and it can go either way. By most people, you either accept it because you know this person, or you keep it on the other side saying, well, okay, he said he saw Bigfoot, but I don't know. It could go either way. Maybe they had a little bit too much to drink, or maybe who knows? Okay, it could be anything that could change whether or not you believe somebody's statement about Bigfoot. And I know a lot of people out there are like, I don't need no proof because I've seen it myself. And that's great for you. But in this case, I really wanted to talk about, proving it to the rest of the world or proving it to science. Because many of us out there and in the chat right now have had their own experiences. So they don't really need to prove to anybody. They try, you can try. But when Jay had his sighting, Jay, who's in the chat right now, you take his encounter story and it's believable. It makes sense how it happened. It makes sense when it happened and where it happened. And all of that stuff builds. It builds for you. And the more encounter stories you hear like that is what makes me believe. And I know people don't like that belief aspect of Bigfoot, but for me, it does matter, that, okay, I have people who I know in the field and I find them credible. And that's part of this whole burden is proving this stuff. So, hey, Grasshopper, good to see you.
So far, right, there's different types of evidence, I would think. So you have anecdotal, physical evidence, DNA evidence. I'm not sure whether or not video is considered physical evidence or just photographic evidence. So there are a couple different ones.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to know, I just think it's hard, right? Unless you have a body to actually prove to the scientific community that this phenomena is real. So hopefully we can get into that a little bit more.
Right. So scientifically, the idea is that it is incorrect to think that Bigfoot exists and is real until someone can prove it. They can prove without a doubt that it exists. And they do that with the hard evidence, with the videos and with the footprints. And that's why I believe the PNG film has stood up to time for so long, is because it's the only one Freeman too, but that's going under scrutiny as of late. But where you have a video where footprints were collected, where there was physical witnesses to it, and there's, we still have Bob Gimlin, who has stood up to this whole time saying that was a real event. So, and you have the Freeman one, of course, but there are other things disputing that footage. You have the first time they saw Bigfoot, and then you have the footprints, the analysis from the tracker, and other things that happen. So there's always something there to bring down that proof. Maybe the proof was up here at one point, and all this stuff kind of just brings it back down the ladder a little ways. So, let's take a look at the chat real quick. What are you saying here? Rabbit says, I don't care if you believe or not, but I have enough personal evidence to me that I can't share to know. What? That I can't share to know? I don't care to know, or what? Am I not reading that right?
So I think there's also been a lot of examples with the phenomena that people hold on to their evidence as well. Rightfully so, I would say. I mean, one of the big things that Cliff talks about, I know a lot of people worship Cliff Barrickman in the Squatch community, is the chain of custody for evidence. And how many times have we seen people, they collect this amazing evidence, they send it in, and it goes missing forever. So, people do supply proof, I think, but you have to get it into the right hands, the right academics, in order to validate it. And that is, I believe, a challenge that this community faces. We only know of a few people in the Pacific Northwest who can kind of handle that stuff. So, but no respectable, responsible scientists in the rest of the 48 states outside of the Pacific Northwest care to touch that. So it's hard. Burden of proof. People supply it, out of the kindness of their hearts. It either goes missing or they don't know who to send it to. I think is a really big problem.
Right. Once you've collected this type of evidence, where does it go next? You're just putting it online, and a bunch of citizen scientists are analyzing it and putting their opinions on it, and it really goes nowhere, because we don't have that huge list of professionals, video people or audio people. We have a few, and they're great, and I have a feeling they're bombarded with a lot because people send them so much stuff. We have just a couple of people who look at hair samples, Cindy Docent, and there's a couple of others. Their names are escaping me right now. But we used to have what's the New York scientist? His name just escaped me. Shoot, what's somebody out there in the chat? Todd Disotell. Thank you. Todd Disotell is a good source for sending DNA stuff too. And
so that's a great example, right? Everyone knows Todd Disotell's name. And but do you know how to send him DNA evidence? Do you have the money to get that DNA evidence tested?
Right.
That's a big thing.
But then they store it, and hold it in their freezers, and that stuff biodegrades. Every time you take it out and it melts, you've created a half-life on that sample. So by the time you're getting ready to shoot that stuff off, you've totally contaminated and destroyed your evidence.
Well, so I think that's the issue there is multifaceted, Nikki. I agree with you that sits there. Again, going back to chain of evidence, maybe that's the next episode. But if anyone, so think about this in especially high turnover industries where you work. I can think of being recently separated from the Air Force. Every time I would PCS, move to a new assignment, and get my own office, I would always have to clear the junk out from the previous people. And I'd find all sorts of stuff. And to me, I think that is a factor with holding this DNA evidence, right? So Todd Dissetel, we know he's a Bigfoot guy, so we send him that. He's got a freezer full of that stuff. Well, let's say he moves on down the road, or he retires, or what have you. The person that takes over it doesn't get proper handover. They don't know what these weird things in the freezer are, and they either chuck them out or they just push them to the back of the freezer and keep loading the freezer up with stuff. So, to me, there is, like, you hear stories about when like evidence was sent to the FBI back in, what was it, the 70s for Bigfoot, right, and it completely went nowhere. Peter Byrne talks about this, and they find it decades later, unlabeled or what have you. And so we're dealing with that as well. I mean, when you don't take a topic seriously, there is no chain of custody for the evidence. It's just thrown in the freezer. A few employees later, it's all the way in the back, like all those condiments that you'll use one day, from your own footage. But that's the way I see it. And I see Grasshopper says, where am I located? South central New Mexico, at the foot of the Sacramento Mountains, good sir.
He's right along the way to where we go up there. So it's really perfect for me to find somebody as interested and who has a lot of knowledge in the Bigfoot community, to be able to connect, because it's hard to find people. You find people who want to go out, but they have no clue about who Peter Burns is, or who the Four Horsemen are, or, who the hoaxes are in the group, and who. But it was a great fresh air to find somebody who I didn't have to explain everything to, on who's out there.
Facebook stalked me for a year.
I Facebook stalked him. I've known Kyle for a year, folks, and just shooting texts back and forth, trying to get to know him. And we kind of met at the end of the season last year. So, it was already getting cold, because it's already getting cold up there. And the days are beautiful, but the nights are in the 30s. And I don't have a little heater yet. I've been looking at them this whole week so I can get one. But still, we're kind of serious about where we're going to be going with this group. And we've made, thanks to Kyle being very forward, going straight to many individuals. And who are you? Where do you give me your contact information? We are hoping to put together a group to do some serious research up in this area now. And, I'm looking forward to it. I know Kyle is too. And we did get somebody to pop in the back. So let's bring them on. It's Mr. Pat. How you doing, Pat? Oh,
I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute. What? Oh, I see what happened. Hold on. I got to flip us around to make room for you. There you are.
Pat, that was quite the intro. I mean, I am a little intimidated by that. You got your old Ted Nugent thing going on, brother.
Yes, you should be. Absolutely.
Well, Pat's a drummer, so I had to give him some drums in there.
And I play drums very aggressively.
Yeah. So it just fit. How are you doing tonight?
I'm okay. I'm all right.
That's good. That's good. So, what's your whole idea on this burden of proof?
Right. So, kind of a little behind the 8 ball here.
We could keep talking. We can keep going.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do see like what you've got up on the screen, and I heard a little bit of what you were saying before I came in. I mean, burden of proof. What does that say? Common
barriers to proving Bigfoot. This will be the first one, really, is, well, which type of evidence is considered the most credible by scientific community?
The most credible, specimen. Like, that's it. like most
it
credible,
would have to
right?
be a live specimen would be the thing that would, be the end all
Or dead.
for,
Yeah.
however it comes
Yeah.
about, finding it or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that's most credible. I mean, that would be the
Most credible.
biggest impact, obviously.
And but a lot of people say just video should be enough. But we've seen that in this age
No,
that's not enough. That we're
it
very critical.
because nobody has video of Bigfoot. That's why. um, so if you look at again, like, dude, I'm not trying to go down a PG film road, but it's the example you have to use. That's nothing more than a controversial film. To me, it doesn't look like a guy in a suit. So there's been 60 years of this controversial film. Okay, so that's not good enough. That doesn't mean we can't get observational footage, hours, not seconds. That would damn be good enough. Like, the scientific community would pull their hair out and jump into the woods as soon as they could if you had something, 1,000 times better than the PG film. Just so happens in 2024, that's doable. So absolutely, real filmed observations, better than good enough. Like, that is going to bridge that gap so fast. That's the quickest thing to bridge the gap, is to actually get filmed observations, not like you're used to, but a real filmed observation that is undeniable. Yeah, undeniable.
Right.
I think the community, though, has its fair share of pretty good video. However, it can always be said, when you're talking about something that's anthropomorphic, it can always be said that it's a guy in a suit. Even if it's close up, it can always be said that it's a guy in a suit. So I am not convinced that video evidence is the actual end all be all.
No, if I take a real filmed observation of a Bigfoot to a scientist, they're going to pull their hair out and they're going to want to get in the game. Period. I don't care if there's some can always say that it's a guy in a suit. That doesn't matter to me. Some will always say that the flying spaghetti monster is real. Some will always say the earth is flat. I don't care what some say. I care what the important people say. I care what the money says. And when I say that, I'm not talking about my own personal wealth. I'm talking about what it would actually take to get science involved, brings money funding with it, because scientists are fucking funded. And so they can actually get biological samples. So yeah, it's a simple thing. It doesn't matter what some say. It matters what the right people say. I'm telling you right now,
that is true. And I'll tell you that Pat and I come on we're on kind of two different areas, because Pat is staunch believer that the PNG footage is real. He feels that's
it's compelling to me. It doesn't look like a guy in a suit. So I don't know about staunch, but fair enough, Nikki. Fair enough.
Yeah. But Kyle, what are your ideas of the Patterson Gimlin footage? For the record, because now you're live.
You're gonna put me on the record, because I would tell you, I'll tell you one thing in private, and I'll tell you something else on the record. On the record, I'm going to agree with Pat. I think it's the single most compelling piece of mainstream Squatch video I've ever seen personally. I think there's a lot of videos that get circulated throughout the Bigfoot community that it's up for debate, the authenticity of it and the credibility of the individual films. When you're talking about things that hit the mainstream, there's very few that kind of go mainstream, and that iconic Patty walking down the riverbed is absolutely what everybody thinks of. I think outside of maybe the Zapruder film of JFK's assassination, the PG film is the single most investigated piece of media ever.
That's not your opinion. That's actually fact.
Oh no, that's not an opinion. That is a fact.
It's fact.
So I, on the record about the PG film, if I was a betting man, I would tend to lean towards it's authentic. There are several peculiarities with the film that are very hard to explain. And I think the knock on it, right, is that Roger Patterson was out there trying to film a documentary, and that I would say is probably the single biggest thing against the film in terms of skeptics. But I do believe there are many. The minutia of the film itself, it seems to me to be rather compelling. So, yeah, that's my PC answer. I'll tell you something differently off air.
I was gonna try to pull up.
But I mean, Pat, what do you think is probably runner up to single best photographic evidence? Freeman film, or what is it? Memorial Day, Labor Day film? I can't remember what it's called. What do you think?
Well, there's both a Memorial Day and an Independence Day.
Oh, see,
the baby one is fake. It's
the one where the thing's walking and picks up the baby.
Yeah.
So what's that?
That's the Independence Day.
Okay, and then so the Labor Day or Memorial Day is the one on the hillside, correct?
Yeah, that's running.
Yeah.
That one I can't say if it's real or not real. They've done that run before. They've hired a track guy or something to run across that thing as fast as he could, and it was interesting, what they came up with. Pat, was that the documentary where they also did the walk, the patty walk, where they tried to recreate it or something? It seems like I want to remember that's that documentary.
Sorry, yeah, I dropped out for a minute. A second. The Wi-Fi, I guess, was kind of messing up.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, here's the thing: the Patterson Gimlin footage stands on its own, like it's its own planet of footage. There's nothing that is even on the same planet, not in ballpark, nothing, absolutely nothing. And so that's the deal with film, is that it's its own thing, one only thing in 60 years. Everything else is just, I don't know, and a lot of that stuff's been debunked, getting debunked, and will be debunked, or just chalked up as inconclusive.
Right.
In the Bigfoot world, I'm not talking world, to the real world, all of it's BS, pretty much.
Pretty much. Yeah.
But in the Bigfoot world, it's like, Memorial Day footage. No, it's BS. Oh no, it's the greatest thing ever, filmed. Pete, stop. I mean it, bud. And so the bottom line is this: the PG film in 60 years stands alone on its own planet of filmed observation that also came with tracks that were cast and a living eyewitness. And there's nothing that even comes close to that since then. But there could be, because it's 2024. Yeah.
Right. It was the Freeman footage was pretty much the closest, which has its own faults and stuff with it. And a lot of people didn't know that Freeman had earlier videos of Bigfoot and photographs. And, thanks to Brent putting it out there, bringing it back to life.
Nothing credible.
A lot of people are like, whoa, there's another Freeman video. So,
me too. Me included.
Stuff gets lost, and that's why I like to bring this stuff up again, because the more we talk about it, the more newbies hear about it, the more they hear about, oh, okay, there's more to the story.
Yeah. I mean, they happen to stumble upon us.
Another one that I think is more so. I think people forget that the Freeman footage is rather old, late 80s, early 90s, right? So
the 90s,
93, I think.
I think the one before that was 88, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No.
First footage? First footage.
No.
It was like 6 months prior. Yeah, it was early 90s. You're right. It was earlier.
He was trying to dial it in. And so, yeah, he learned from his failures from the first one and did it differently the second time. That's my opinion.
One of the most compelling, probably modern ones, I would say, is Stacy Brown Jr.'s out of Florida that he caught with his dad. I think that one kind of stands out to me as being
absolutely
special.
Not. It's absolutely laughably special. It's like retarded.
The hand was like that big.
It's like that kind of special. It's like, I'm special. Yeah, it's a nothing. Like,
are you talking about with the hand on the thing?
No. I'm being funny over here.
It walks across from tree to tree. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, with the thermal.
Stacy Brown footage is ridiculous. It's a huge nothing burger. It's extremely inconclusive. And Stacy admitted to Rick Riolo that he hoaxed it. So, like, it's the footage on its own is laughably just nothing. It's like, what am I looking at?
The gator hand, the gator bone. Well, it was a foot of a alligator, but he was trying to play it off like it was.
That's the problem, dude. If the bar is up here, that we're gonna have a serious conversation about Stacy Brown, like, no, like, dude, the bar is 10,000 miles above your head. That's where I'm trying to get to. Forget Stacy Brown and his footage, like all that.
Sure, but I think a lot of right. Thank you, Nikki. I think that's the problem when you're talking about 60-year-old footage. That leaves a lot to be desired, right? Within the Bigfoot community itself, we can all respect the footage and the living eyewitness to it. But I think with modern technology, that's what people are screaming for and kind of clamoring for is more high-res footage.
Which can be done.
I have yet to see it. I have yet to see it. And actually, I think, Nikki, we have one of the more popular recent footage coming up here in the next segment with Colorado.
Which one?
Silver, Colorado.
Oh, yeah, those ones. Yeah, we'll talk about those. But remember, people forget that Paul Freeman was involved all over and had access to suits and stuff like that, and it's just, it's crazy.
That's a pretty good looking Squatch right there, actually. Right? Yeah. I mean, it looks static. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that one's pretty static, but
that's static.
There's usually more to the story than that gets out, because people want to run with the most viable thing they think is real. Because I can say, oh, I don't like the way Patty's butt looks. I don't like the way her face looks. I don't like, the way her feet are all flat and like the bottom of the hair and the legs just stop. That's not natural. That's
Wizard. Adirondacks actually makes a great point. The Australian Yowie footage, I totally forgot about that one. That is probably one of the most compelling thermal footage.
Again, I'm sorry, I'm calling that a nothing burger. Like, it's like you're on two different planets right now, man. Like, I understand. The Australian footage is laughable to me.
So, Pat, here's the problem. You're sticking to the 64-year-old PG film that took 60. Well, it took 60 years, and people still can't, even within the Bigfoot community, say whether or not it's real. What I'm trying to offer is more modern looks at what we do have. What are the modern standards? Granted, I'm not saying they compare to the PG footage. I'm saying, what are we looking at in the modern world?
Hoaxes.
Well, I think that's a pretty broad statement, and I unfortunately...
No, it's a very specific statement. We're looking at hoaxes. That's specific. It's not broad.
So you're telling me every single video that comes out since the Freeman footage of the early 90s is false?
How about this? It's inconclusive, and there's good reason to laugh at...
That's probably a better word.
Yeah,
sure, but I think playing devil's advocate, I would say the PG film is inconclusive for a variety of reasons.
All right, let's take the PG film and throw it in the garbage.
Well,
And
I mean,
forget
Nikki just labeled several of those things, which
Yeah, I do, because I don't think any of that stuff really matters to where we're at right now. I've always said that. I keep saying that. Is whether I believe in PG or not, doesn't matter. It's just, it's interesting and I love it and I would love for it to be real. But at this point, it's like, it is what it is,
So I think, oh, sorry. I thought you're done. My thing's acting up. Sorry, I thought you were done. Oh. No, you can finish.
Well, now I don't know what I was going to say.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
It's all subjective.
Yeah, it is all subjective, Pat. And
all
that's the problem.
When it comes to interesting, conclusive is not subjective. Conclusive is just that, conclusive.
Well, that's the problem with video evidence, is it cannot be conclusive. And I think the question on the screen is which type of evidence is considered the most credible. Clearly, our last 10 minutes of talking about this, we have 3 different opinions about what is considered the best Bigfoot footage of all time. So I would say video evidence is not going to be entertained by the scientific community as credible if it hasn't done it in 60, 70 years.
If I film Pete right now, is that conclusive or not?
I don't know.
It's a no.
Who's Pete?
Is anybody going to question that?
My dog. Pete is his dog. But that's a known animal. We know dogs. We know cats. We know things, deer and bear and stuff in the woods. We know that thing. We know those are real. This is something we don't have that, in the history books. All we have are stories.
So if you film Bigfoot 10,000 times better than the PG film, do you think that falls into the fairly conclusive category?
No.
Why? 10,000 times better?
Because there's no body. And that's what the standard of proof is for the scientific community and has been. Hey, man, I think
that's the biggest standard.
I'm not personally attacking you. I'm just saying,
I know
I don't believe that.
So you don't think the scientific community would be interested if I took them a film of a real Bigfoot filmed for half an hour?
Oh, absolutely.
You don't think they'd be interested? Okay, but that means they're going to jump into action.
Interested in believing / researching is 2 very separate things.
So you don't think scientists would be interested in research at that point?
So one of the things I like to talk about when we're talking about the Bigfoot phenomenon is the UAP phenomenon. So look at the Tic Tac and all of that footage that has come out since 2017.
Right.
Everyone can collectively say there is absolutely no aircraft that exists now that can do those things. But yet that footage was filmed back in 2004, 2005, 2006. And so that wasn't enough. It was enough to pique science curiosity, but they still won't come out and say that it's whatever.
Well, you're assuming,
that's interesting.
You're assuming that what is seen in that footage is an aircraft doing maneuvers that are not physically possible in our knowledge, instead of it could be an optical illusion.
Well, I just don't think it's an optical illusion. I think most people would agree because there's multiple film.
I know it's an optical illusion.
We're going to do an after show about the UAP phenomenon, Nikki.
Yeah, I know it's I know that some of it's an optical illusion because of a little thing I like to call trigonometry that works out for it to be, and a gimbal movement, a glitchy gimbal, where the frame moves, not the aircraft. So there's those aspects to it, and so it could very well be that what you're trying to use as some great example actually is just misunderstood footage.
Well, what I'm saying, again, I'm saying that has been presented to the scientific community and hasn't moved them to act, which is what I'm saying is, first of all, I guess we do disagree on that. I do think it's outstanding footage, first of all, and I don't think it's a glitch or anything. But my point being I sincerely do not believe the scientific community will accept it, and this will go mainstream with anything other than DNA evidence or a body.
Well, I've talked to the scientific community who are not Bigfoot people, and exclusively 100%, they say, you bring me conclusive footage of a Bigfoot, I'm going to get way interested real fast. So the scientific community has told me this personally.
So then they should go out publicly and state that.
They have
keeping it privately.
They have,
because
some of this happened in public. Just so you know.
So if we sent out a poll, I'm pretty sure the only name I saw here in the comments was Todd Dissetel. He's the only one, to my knowledge, and Jeffrey Meldrum that care about this from a scientific perspective. Unfortunately, we no longer have Grover Krantz, but the scientific community, here's a great example for you, Pat. We did the Bigfoot town hall last Saturday at the Mescalero Reservation. We had over 70 people show up. People were describing their stories, and it was a really nice experience. After it had ended and people dispersed, one lady came up to Scott from Squatch America, and she goes, "Hey, I'm the chief wildlife biologist here on the reservation," and said, "I've seen things that I believe this is real and whatever." But why didn't she raise her hand in there during the town hall and come out publicly to it? I think there's too much of a stigma that these people are not coming out publicly. And to be fair, honestly, I mean, Jeffrey Meldrum, I don't even think he came out publicly until he had tenure. So it really is a risk to these individuals' reputations, and it shouldn't be. That's terrible. That's not how science is supposed to be conducted, but yet that's the world we live in.
Again, that's you want to talk about a generalization of things. I disagree. I don't think that's kind of how scientists think or would act towards anything that could be a potential actual discovery. That's kind of what they do. Their whole deal is to learn more about the world we live in.
It's about this, man. It's about funding. Absolutely not. I could cite multiple scientists to you right now that are squashed by the establishment, and that is not a generalization. I could name several that are squashed by the establishment.
We've already heard that they don't want to be involved with it because there's too much at risk for their real jobs to be thought of being involved in the community. Yeah, really, they won't. Otherwise, we would have more Meldrums. We would have more Dissetels. We would have better means of.
I mean, all right,
getting into that scientific community.
So, is it a coincidence? Let me ask you this: is it a coincidence that I engaged publicly, not privately, but right there in the face of everything public, with a primatologist, a young female primatologist who thought the PG film was interesting? She admitted that on air, not once, but several times, and was willing to have the discussion and willing to explore the potentials. So I've lived this.
She is one in probably of 1,000.
So it's a coincidence.
She's not a tenured professor. She doesn't have anything in the community or in her background saying that she has something to lose. I mean, by doing that, she's already on a debate channel that she's on all the time. So not evidently,
I would say come back to me when she publishes a paper about the PG film, when she puts her reputation online, because that's what we're hearing is that they will not have conversations. But that's
so I'm going along with the narrative that was just presented to me, which is that scientists don't want to put their reputation on the line by being public about even talking about it. And I just gave you an example, a non-tenure primatologist who wants to become an anthropologist one day, so she's got a lot in her future to go. perfectly willing to have the discussion about Bigfoot and was willing to admit that the PG film was a strange film to her, but it wasn't enough to prove the existence of an undiscovered hominid. Now, she
Right.
articulated this over hours and hours and hours, not just with me, but also with Meldrum. So hours of public demonstration, and all I ask is, was that a coincidence? Did I just happen to on the one person in the scientific community willing to do that?
You could have,
And
seriously.
but I say
could,
the odds of
not
that,
a robot out
are
there
low.
that would do that.
The odds of
She
that are
also
low.
proceeded to dog on Meldrum after that as well on the next show.
Sort of.
Yeah, she was talking
Nikki,
about him
what
being
about
Mormon and
Project
that.
Jupiter? What was it we were discussing at during our night hike? It's called Project Zoo Book. What is it called?
Yeah.
Oh, Amy Boo's Project Zoo Book. Yeah.
That has enlisted several top scientists, but it's all confidential. None of them none
you don't
of them
even know,
want to come out
you don't even know how real that is because it's confidential.
But that's what I'm saying. None of them come out publicly. The charter of that organization and research.
You don't know who's there.
So let's put it this way. So there may be some scientists out there getting involved, but they're not making it public. Just like the ones dealing with Jeff and his project. You know, they don't want to be out there. They're going to do the work. They're going to establish some kind of
I can get any science
data retrieval, but they're not going to tell about it. They're not going to put their names on stuff until it's, oh, this is interesting. We really got something here, you know?
Yeah. I guess I just hit the lottery with Erica, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I thought so from the beginning.
But
that
why?
you have found somebody interesting to talk to about.
What's our next
topic? Very knowledgeable. This girl was very knowledgeable. So
she's a primatologist.
Yeah. You know, she's up and coming. She's young. She has an open mind. And that was very visible.
So do most scientists. Yeah, most scientists have open minds. It's kind of required, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops. Did I go 2 or 1? Okay. So moving along, I have this skepticism built in, you know, but how does that influence us? You know, Pat, how much have you changed from the first time you started doing your show to now?
A lot.
A bit, right? A lot.
But that was a learning journey. I learned. I'm being objective. Yeah, that's objectivity in play.
Mm-hmm.
And that's learning experience. And so we're talking 10 years. And so I've learned. Or I'm delusional. Or there's something else in play. But I know that I've learned. And so my opinions have changed based on the facts and the realities that I discover. So skepticism is a great tool for navigating very, very rough waters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I initially, when I started out, wanted to be this skeptical, but it's just over, you're right, the growth of 10 years that I went from believing everything, finding answers that everything seemed to be hoaxed or fake or produced, to doing more of that online research, you know, being the armchair researcher I am, and realizing that what I'm searching for is that I want to see one for myself. And that's probably going to be the only thing that'll change my mind as to, is it really real? Now, I still think it's there, you know, there's something there. There's too much going on to not have some reality to it. But
yeah. Well, after my long time here, I've come to a conclusion. So I've definitely I've shaped the tip of the spear as sharp as it's gonna get, you know. And so at this point, my conclusion is that 98% of it is people. It's just a people thing. So it's BS. It has nothing to do with Bigfoot or what could be the Bigfoot phenomena. 98% of it's people. And there's this 2% I can't explain. And that's where I'm at. And nothing's going to change unless there's something that happens that makes that 2% go away. Like it's train ain't going backwards. I'm not going to go from 98% to like 75%. It's a people thing. It's so clear, it's so obvious, but there's this 2% I can't explain. So that's my 10-year journey of being skeptical and objective has led me to a conclusion that I have no dog in the hunt. I don't want Bigfoot to be this or that or anything else. I just want to know the truth.
Well, that's a healthy balance, is that you have, and I know you don't like this, you have a belief, but you have that skepticism still in place.
It's curiosity. The only thing that's driven me, I've never been driven by belief because, again, I have no dog in the hunt. I don't want Bigfoot to be anything. So that would be a belief-based system. It's own curiosity that got me into this and exactly where I am now. Now I'm curious about that 2% I can't explain. I'm just as curious as I was on day one.
Right. But in the same notion, there are still people who are in that day one. They are in those first 2 years of learning this and wanting to believe that this stuff is real. And they are going on their own journey as we did. And,
sure,
I don't want to let the air out of their tire before they get, completely into Bigfoot. But I know Brent and me and a lot of other people have said, wow, did I waste 5 years going through this process? How would it have been if I had learned, that the Bigfoot tree was real, right off the bat? That, some things that I have coming up in
we had to learn a lesson.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have my own like equivalencies of that. Like I didn't go through the Bigfoot tree thing like Brent did.
Grasshopper says great thing. It's a hobby, it's a hobby and it's still fun for me. And I have a blast going out there and being in the woods and being with people and sitting around the campfire. That will always remain the most fun.
And I agree with that 100%.
Of all of this.
All you have to do is realize that when you engage in that camaraderie, is that's the only thing you're doing. You or no one else in the Bigfoot world who enjoys the conferences, enjoys the campfire discussions. You're not moving the ball down the field one damn inch as to a discovery of the most amazing biological discovery in human history, which would be an undiscovered upright walking primate. Like Bigfooters aren't doing that. They're having fun. And that's my whole point. It's like, it's okay to have fun. And I hate to be the guy killing the music at the party, but it has nothing, like if you're having fun, you're not working and you're not discovering a damn thing. And
that could be true. That could.
Yeah, that's
where. But remember, folks, I talk about the stuff that nobody else.
I think both approaches. I think both approaches are valid. I personally, I don't care if the ball is moved forward or not. To be perfectly honest, because like I've stated before, without a body, I don't think science will give a shit about what we're doing here. And I think that the kind of the attacks and rhetoric around that it's just negative.
You don't want. So it's your wish. It's your wish that a body's not discovered tomorrow.
So again, I'm being taken out of context, like I was last week as well with that statement. What I'm saying is both approaches are valid. For Nikki and I, if we go out into the mountains and see a Squatch, that's good enough for us.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Dot. That's good enough for us, because I'm not going to do and be the one to break it. People have been trying to do it for 70 years. And I think to denigrate people and say that going out and camping and having fun is not as good as trying to move the ball forward up the field in the research, I think that's a really bad way to look at it.
That's not what I said. I clearly distinguished that having fun is great, but that's not work. And the only way you're gonna discover an undiscovered primate, and so you have to say if that's your like desire or not. You're not going to do it sitting around a campfire.
Why not?
Well,
why not?
I mean,
that's how all the other sightings are found.
Well, no, I want to
down the street and walk across the highway. People camping in campsites, and it just comes up on them. Most of the sightings have nothing to do with the Bigfoot people. They're just rando people camping or having fun and hooping and hollering, and the kids probably bring in this creature who's completely curious, or maybe even juveniles that come in and they happen to get seen.
You know? Sure, but see, all that gets convoluted. Most of the sightings, because I'm explaining to you right now, it gets convoluted because most of the sightings that I find the most compelling and believable, Nikki was right when she said they don't come from Bigfooters, and they also don't come from a camping situation. It's usually a hiking. No, it's usually a hike. It's usually a hiking situation. So they're hiking.
Thomas Steinberg has interviewed hundreds of people, right? And one of his biggest interviews was a sighting that occurred in a campground, and there were like 3 or 4 witnesses. And as he's there, like the next day or whatever, he went and walked and he found prints himself. They didn't tell him there were prints. He went out and during his investigation found prints that validated that they had seen something. And it was several people involved because they were, oops. What happened?
I don't know. I didn't touch anything, Nikki, I swear.
Oh, wait a minute. Did he send me a...
I didn't do anything, I swear.
Oh, he knocked him. There he is.
I'm back.
There you go.
Thought we'd have some fun with it.
What happened? Okay. So, there are situations where that can happen and have happened, that several people have eyewitnessed a Bigfoot, and it was in a camping situation, at a campsite. I mean, including Sasquatch Provincial Park, one of the biggest parks in British Columbia, and it has had sightings all up and down where we were at. Matter of fact.
Again, I think I'm a little misunderstood here. What I said was the majority of encounters that I consider credible, so that's me, Pat Turner, are have nothing to do with camping, or maybe sometimes, right? And then maybe not. So that's where like I don't just listen to any story and think, oh well, that's true. That's the facts. It could have been, like Thomas Steinberg, you want to use the example, it could have been that he was hoaxed. And he still to this day doesn't understand that. I'm just saying could have been. All right. I'm not accusing, I'm not making a definitive statement. The point is that, anecdote does get convoluted real quick. We can all go back and listen to chronicles and the lady on the beach, the English lady on the beach, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and all that. And it's a great story, doesn't mean it happened. Probably didn't. And so when you start throwing in as like factual knowledge, you're convoluting the waters, and that's the whole problem. Again, if you want to go to a scientific approach, you don't convolute the waters with anecdote. You simply you simply don't sit around a campfire and talk about it. You fucking get out there and actually collect the biological evidence.
That's where it's different, because like Kyle just said, me and him aren't out there to collect the evidence. We just want to see something and have some kind of weird ass experience while we're out there and have fun at it.
Okay.
Now, like Scott with Watch America, he wants the evidence and wants to prove it further.
All right.
Like Brett wants to further it. Jeff would love to collect evidence and prove it further, but we're not all the same, you know? And the thing is getting out there and putting ourselves into a position where we could encounter a Bigfoot, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, okay, so that becomes extremely personal, like in that situation, which is fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I get that. It's like, oh my God, I just want to see one. Okay, that's fair enough. Put yourself out there where you think that could happen, you know? I come from it from a different angle, because I'm trying to actually, like, in my mind at least, solve the mystery. Like, I want to know if there's an undiscovered primate tramping around North America. And so why I enjoy, and Nikki, you know this about me, I enjoy sitting around the campfire and talking Squatch. I could do that all night long. But while I'm sitting there, I'm not thinking we ain't gonna discover anything like tonight, right? We're not gonna bag one, right? So I enjoy the camaraderie. All I'm saying is that at the end of the day, camaraderie is camaraderie. And if the scientists were out there trying to do this, there would be very little camaraderie. In fact, they probably all be arguing with each other quite a bit, to be honest with you.
Similar to what's happened here tonight.
Well, I mean, that is how you kind of, like, discourse and disagreement is how you get things figured out that you can't figure out.
Yeah, I disagree on that. Absolutely. I think that Cliff says it best when he says the Squatch community just kind of eats its own. And if you don't agree with one particular view set, your view set is kind of irrelevant. So I think it's a hobby, like someone, I believe Grasshopper mentioned earlier, and we need to all be open to everybody has a different way to view it. So can we learn anything from past discoveries of other animals? The coelacanth!
I don't think that's
they're out there,
at all.
Right? We don't see Bigfoot, but there's a lot of animals out there we don't see, and we know they're out there. But you know, how many times we've talked about this before? How many times you run into a bear skeleton out there in the woods? How many times you run into?
It does happen, though.
It happens, you know, and unfortunately, these are known animals that we know have a great population. And we're looking at something that probably doesn't have as great a population as we think it does. So
yeah, there's a big difference between the coelacanth, which is a underwater creature, was actually rediscovered. Like, right? It's an underwater creature, so way more elusive.
And then they found a lot of them too. Actually,
like compared to an 800-pound bipedal undiscovered primate, like you gotta scratch your head about that and go, well, if we can find a coelacanth, why can't we find a 800-pound freaking upright walking primate in the woods?
And what's your take on that, Squatch Talk? Why do you think we can't find one? Nail one down.
Because I don't think they're there. Like, I'm pretty sure they're not there.
The Bigfoot's not there?
Correct. Maybe they used to be, but they're not there anymore. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I certainly was not expecting that. I thought you were gung ho. So I'm genuinely asking. I'm not trying to be facetious or anything. So I just want to be clear. You're saying you don't think Bigfoots exist, and kind of what people are seeing is a mixture of pareidolia and people walking around in ghillie suits, or?
I'm saying that there's a percentage to this phenomena that's unexplained.
Okay.
And so what I'm saying is I'm starting to think there is no undiscovered primate in North America. That's not a thing, or maybe it used to be, but it's not anymore. Like, we're actually seeing art imitate life with Sasquatch Sunset, something along those lines. So as far as the undiscovered primate goes, yes, I'm getting to the point where I do not think there's an undiscovered primate marching around North America.
Are you down with the woo?
And I'm not marching down a woo road. Come on, mouse. I'm not marching down a woo road. I say I'm ruling one thing out and fully admitting here in public that if it's not that, then it's simply unknown. It's unexplained. So no, I'm not trying to fill that void with my imagination at all.
Well, again, I don't think. I think that. Hey, there we go. Squatch America's joined the chat. I don't think anybody that prescribes to the woo or what have you is necessarily wrong. Again, I think there's probably room for everybody to have their own opinion until we have a dead ass body on a slab. What's this? What's in front of me?
Room for opinion in discourse, sure, but reality, no.
Yeah. So then Squatch Talk, is that a YouTube channel then?
Yes, that's my YouTube channel.
Do you just do interviews with people, or you go out and do?
I've done it all, buddy.
So
I mean, I haven't. I do not put content out of me investigating. No.
So you don't believe in an 8 foot tall ape. What about you, Miss Nikki?
Yeah, I believe they're there.
There's that.
I think there's something there that a few people have found, and I want to find it too. Yeah. But like I said last time, I have to put up or shut up and go out to the woods. I can't sit here and say that without putting myself out there into a situation where, I could possibly run into one. And that's why we went to these areas where we have sightings, right? I went to EC's area. I know the path where it went. There were recent, as of 4 days before the town hall, there were audio captured from an area out there. There's a recent video. Well, I've seen a recent video of something by some elk. Okay, that's all I can kind of say, because it's not mine to put out. And that's another whole issue, is that people are holding good videos and audios close to the chest because they don't want to expose their area. They have nothing to do with Bigfoot, and they don't want anybody coming at them asking questions. So there's stuff out there. It's just sometimes we can't get our hands off of it to make it public or to share. So
right. So that weird. So the PG
cut out
PG film. Yeah. So the PG film itself has generated tens of millions of dollars, if not more. So any kind of actual good video you have, it's money on the table. I don't know a human being on the fucking planet that would ever not take the money on the table if they really truly had something better than the PG film, which again, PG film generated tens of millions of dollars. So
yeah, but I mean, look at the Freeman footage. That did nothing but discredit that man until his dying day. And his son's trying to pick up the pieces of his father's reputation. And
with a book that he's selling.
Sure, but I think it's not like just a cash grab. I don't think that's a fair assessment of everybody.
I didn't say it was a cash grab. What I said was, if you had something better than the PG film, it would be worth more than the PG film.
So
Paul Freeman did not have that.
So Cliff Barrickman, again,
Cliff.
whatever you think about him, he describes seeing all this footage that people keep close to the vest, that it outshines the PG film. Talking with Scott with Squatch America, same thing. He's seen footage, that people just don't want to release. And I don't think it necessarily equates to money. Roger Patterson tried to sell the rights to the film, and that's why he made money.
Of course it equates to money.
Which discredited him. It discredited him. So if he hadn't done that, there would be people that were like, maybe the PG film's real. But because he tried to sell it, because he tried to film a Bigfoot documentary and just so happened to catch a Bigfoot, that he's discredited immediately. And that's why I don't think it's.
I think there's a virtuous narrative to all that does not match reality, because I'm sorry, if you put $10 million on the table, free money, somebody's going to take it.
Well, what is Grover
There's no virtue to that. Yeah, there's no virtue.
I disagree with that assessment.
Really?
Because who are you going to sell it to? Let's say tomorrow you go out in the woods. Okay, let's say you go out in the woods tomorrow with a drone or whatever, and you film them. What's your first phone call you make?
Production company.
And you think they're going to pay you $10 million?
Oh, we're going to $10 million. That's for damn sure.
I didn't hear him right there.
Yeah, we are going to make $10 million. You're damn right.
Well, I think that is pie in the sky, my friend.
Well, I disagree.
Bigfooter that's made $10 million.
Because they haven't gotten any footage. Because, again, let's go back to what we talked about earlier. No one's gotten footage as good as the PG film. It's not even on the same planet.
And according to you, they won't, because the Squatches no longer exist in the wild.
Possibly.
Well,
that's a possibility.
I'm not sure what we're doing talking here, Nikki. It's over.
Well, I'm not. Whoa! I'm not making an authoritative statement. I'm saying it could very well be that yes, Sasquatch Sunset has come to fruition, aren't imitating life. It could be that they've died out since in the past decades. Let's say it could be. I'm throwing that out there as a possibility. Of course, Bigfooters won't like that because, well, then they have nothing to chase, right? All I know is that if I put a maximum effort into drone chasing these things, where I'm covering 20 square miles in a night, you can't win 2 months. In one night, I cover an area you can't even walk through in 2 months. Okay, I'm gonna have a hard time finding these things. That's what I know, because they have to be elusive and rare, which means they're not fucking hanging around people. All right. So if any Bigfooter that wants to put their money where their mouth is and say, I know this area, it's a hot spot. Okay, I can show up with 5 pilots, 20 square miles, one fucking night. I'll tell you if they're not. And I can count every goddamn porcupine along the way. That's the power of the technology.
But people don't have that technology. I mean, it's out there, but nobody can afford to get that technology.
Exactly. So put your money where it's a put your money where your mouth is. Right. Yeah.
And Kyle, just so you know, because you didn't go back and look at a bunch of my previous shows. This is what my show does. I talk about the things that people don't want to talk about, and that's bringing on people who are willing to talk about the ugly stuff, there's skepticism, all that stuff, because I'm not like that. I love the subject. I love talking about it. I have belief that Bigfoot's out there. I want to find it on my own. I don't want to necessarily prove it to the world or anybody else but myself. But I support those investigators and researchers who are out there looking for that hard evidence. And I look forward to what they have to present, because this is my hobby and I have time for it. But so that's kind of where I go, is that I have topics, and if somebody has a problem with, some part of Bigfooting, researching, investigating, they are welcome to come on here and have that debate talk with me, with whoever else decides they want to jump on, and I'll allow that interaction to happen on my show, which is not an interview show. That's the one thing. Now, I have lighthearted conversations a lot of the times, and sometimes we get into the more sticky conversations, which is fine.
And the lighthearted is more fun because that's the campfire talk.
Yeah, that's the campfire talk stuff.
And we could switch that gear right now. I'd be more than willing to have a campfire discussion with you, man. Like, tell me, tell me about Bigfoot. You tell me, like, you ever seen one? Like, what's that like? I don't know. But Nikki's right. I appreciate you for that disclaimer, Nikki. Thank you.
Yeah, because Pat and I have had our differences in the past, and we've separated. And I realized a long time ago that life's too short to be holding on to grudges and to not move forward for me. Okay, not Bigfoot, for me to move forward and not have that ugly mess with people online, because this is supposed to be fun for me and I want to maintain it to be fun. Some people don't want to hear this stuff all the time or this type of content, and I understand that. A lot of people out there like the encounter story shows. That's why they're so popular. That's why they have 25,000 subscribers.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Plus, because they're stories, and I can put a prompt into an AI right now and come up with a 15-minute story for you like that. And you'll believe it. People will believe it.
Absolutely.
That's why I don't take in those stories. I'll listen to them. If you're sitting in front of me and want to tell me your Bigfoot story, I would love to hear it. But otherwise, I'm not going out and searching for those stories, because that's all they are. And they all sound the same to me now. You're walking along and pop, there's a Bigfoot. Sometimes it throws something at you. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it growls at you. Sometimes it doesn't. And you're scared, it's scared, and you both go your own way.
Exactly, right? I used to be entertained by those stories. Like, remember my evolution, right? I used to listen to Chronicles every night, man. I gobbled up every episode of Chronicles until I got to the point where a new one was going to drop. And now I'm tired of listening to stories. I'd rather listen to stories from people I know. Like, I've gotten into this weird situation where, now I have stories from people I know, and I know them fairly well, right? As good as you and I know each other right now, Nikki, and we broke bread together, right?
Yeah, we've met in person.
Yeah, so
but I've learned how you talk. I've learned how your passions are. Some people don't, and sometimes you're a little bit harsh on them. On some of your matter of fact statements.
Yes, the matter of fact stuff, which now I throw disclaimers in there, in my opinion, and then I can say whatever I want.
You have to do that. You have to do that.
And it is my opinion. Yeah.
Right. Well, unfortunately, Kyle has to take off, so I'm going to give him his little.
That's what you needed a picture for?
You look good there, bud.
Good thoughts of the night.
Kyle.
I mean,
damn, I was not expecting that, chat. We're all seeing that for the first time. I think we're all now dumber for having seen that.
I mean, I want to kiss you on the forehead.
Ooh,
and I'm
not music. I was like, that's perfect.
Do I get the big screen for my final thoughts, or am I relegated?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. You can have the
absolutely.
big screen if I can
Big
figure it out.
screen it up. Oh, that's you.
It,
That's you.
I know. Why is it not? It won't change. Why would it not change?
You pay for this stuff?
Well, he disappeared altogether.
There's a little dog.
All right, I'm paid. Hey, I'm paid.
Solo layout for you. There you go.
Oh my god, I can't believe I get the main stage. A dad dude calls, everybody. So you know what that means? It's Kyle's final thought of the night. I think the phenomenon, I think there's lots of different interpretations, research methods, and ways to view the subject, and I think they're all valid as long as we don't eat each other up and tear each other down. I think we can move the ball forward down the field, that's for sure. So until next time, keep your stick on the ice.
Oh, yeah, hockey.
Thank you, Kyle.
I like that, Kyle.
I'll talk to you later, Kyle.
Yeah, I like
it. Goodbye. Bye-bye. That was just Kyle, folks.
Well, Kyle's a cool guy, so let's just say, man,
he's
Kyle's
on dad duty tonight, so he had to go.
Well, I like that. I like that. He's a good dad, and it means he's a good person. And I say Kyle's a good human. I love all humans, but I'm just Petey.
You're just Petey. We'll go back over here. We've kind of talked through all that, but we're gonna do a little bit of.
Show me what you got. Jim, you heard them said, "Show me what you got."
I love it.
So there wasn't a whole lot of new stuff from people being put out this week.
No,
but a lot of the same old BS. Okay?
Really,
and of course, some of the same old things we've seen. The Sonny Vader stuff. Come on, people. As soon as you see it, put in their comment, Sonny Vader. That's Sonny Vader. He has had the same suit for the last 10, 15 years, and he's just reeling people in to believe this crap. It doesn't even look like what we traditionally think Bigfoot looks like. He has this big blue-gray suit with the big bouffant hair coming out.
Yeah.
Darth Vader. That's a good one, Kaiju. That's Darth Vader right there. And the one with the tent, and he's in the background, and this one right here where he starts throwing shit. Yeah. Come on, people. It's Sonny Vader.
Low-hanging fruit, right?
Right, very low. The next one is this Boise Bigfoot group here. They're becoming high on my list of throwing out BS. Yeah. So they brought back up the whole IMAX Great North thing. Do you remember when that happened, Pat? That the Great North documentary IMAX thing?
Yeah, this is our 15th or 20th rotation around this. Like,
at least where you see this head kind of go by and all the caribou get scared and they're saying that was a Bigfoot running. It was just one of the production people on a bike trying to get the caribou to run so they could get their shot.
Right, exactly.
That was it. He was on a bike. That's why he was going so fast. And that's what that. And if you blow it up and stop at one little spot, you can see the bike handles that he's holding. But anyway, that's all that is, folks.
What a shame.
Just that. I can't.
What else you got? Show me what you got.
Okay, that's when I've been seeing this Mark Anders. I wish he would contact me because I have been putting out emails to him because I want him to come on the show to just tell everybody, he's been hoaxing all these years. He hasn't even put out anything new in years, but people are still bringing up his stuff from
going. Yeah.
here.
Well, that's an interesting looking pic, right? You know,
Right, and it moves.
Yeah.
That's what gets people is that
Yeah.
he's, but he is a CGI expert and he has a suit and he can make it walk. And he has videos of him doing that with certain models he has, and he has this like ape face one and he makes it move and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So he shows you how he does it.
Yeah. It wasn't the Bigfoot face though. It was actually a chimpanzee face he has, and I think a gorilla one he does.
Right.
And he used to have a website that you could go and he would make you, I don't know if it was videos or photos of animals doing stuff, and it was I don't know, it's not around anymore because I went and looked for it. But anyway, it's hoax. That same Bigfoot there has been all over the country in a matter of days. Because he would put it in New York, and then it would be in New Jersey, and then it would be in Washington, and then it would be in Mexico, and then one. And you can go to he still has his YouTube channel. Mark Anders, go look at it. It's you can figure it out.
Roger that.
Now this one right here is the Antonio Barbagallo photo, folks. People are just so amazed at this photo, but this photo was actually done back in what was the date that was made? Does it say on that one?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not familiar with it, actually.
Oh dang! I didn't write it down. It looks
goofy. Looks like a little playful.
Yeah, and we have the actual correspondence from Racer X, who is Randy Filipovics, actually got in touch with Tony Barbagallo, and he made that as a series of commercial advertisements, and he was commissioned to do these photos of Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, flying saucers, and he even hired a professional bodybuilder, and he hired a makeup artist and everything to create his photos. Right. And they're used nationwide. And you can still look up Antonio Barbagallo photography, as well as the next one too. So this is not real, folks. Okay. That is not real. And this, of course, is a Silverton Bigfoot photo. Some people don't, last year in October, we had that train, the Silverton train, and we saw the Bigfoot walking. And there's been more. There's been other Silverton Bigfoot photos. There was one done in 2008 as well, where they had one of those plyboard stick things out there. Yeah. And so that route is used quite often to put Bigfoot out there. And in the case of last year, it was part of a it was an adventure thing, or what was it?
Something. I mean, they're rolling along the same tracks, right?
Yeah, it was a group out there that put the thing, and I didn't pull all the information on that. I just wanted you to show that, to check into these things, because all this information is out there on the internet, and you just have to look for it. Grab the photo, put it in Google Images, see what pops up. You'll be amazed. Go to squatchopedia.org. You will be amazed when you go through that whole site. And this one, of course, is the Dale Odell illustration, which I also saw this last week, where people are trying to tear it apart, the leg, this and that. But this is in illustration by a digital artist by the name of Dale Odell, and he's from Arizona.
Really?
It is just was intended to be published and presented as real. It was never intended to do all that. This was in 2008. And there's actually a certificate of copyright on that photo, by the way.
Really? So, okay, this photo, this is great, Nikki. Like, I always I've always found this particular photo very interesting, because it like to me it looks, it just kind of looks authentic. I mean, obviously, I mean the trees are real, the ground is real. Um,
Mhm.
so you're
Yeah.
saying that the figure was digitally created in
Yeah.
2008?
Yep.
2008?
Yeah.
Really?
For real. For real, for real. So
And
that
you
was back then.
okay?
But
It
the
was
leg is kind of messed up. If you look at it, the
a
back
little
leg
bit,
doesn't match
yeah.
the front. Kind of
Yeah.
odd little leg sticking
Well,
out, you know?
I always chalk that up to they walk weird,
Uh,
you know? Yeah,
yes.
because
It
I
would.
mean, I've I've always felt like, wow, this is something I could see in my backyard. Like this is cool. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Um,
I don't know. It's always looked interesting to me, and
it
yeah,
wasn't until
man,
about 2015 that he came out publicly and said, "No, wait a minute, that's my photo." So
right. So one of those situations where the
he,
creator
yeah, he
debunked
didn't even know,
debunked
you
himself.
know.
Yeah.
He just had it, and it was based in it's U, it's UK based. Oh, what's it called? Um, oh dang, now I have to look at my notes again. A stock photo agency. It's in a stock photo agency,
Wow.
and where you can go and purchase just stock photos. So that's where
Yeah.
it's originally.
So again, like, I remember the first time I ever saw this photo, I found it very compelling. So there
Yeah.
you go. Like along the compelling lines, right?
Mhm.
You're telling me it's BS. I'm
It's
sure it
BS.
is. I'm sure it is. I'm sure I've kind of probably come to that conclusion between then and now anyway. But yeah, like when I saw this photo, I was like, "Oh my god, that looks like something that I could take a picture of off my, back porch almost."
Yeah, it does. It kind of does.
Very
You know
relatable.
what I've always liked is that one with the kid who's in his back porch, and he's looking down this valley, and he see that Bigfoot going up the other side of the mountain. Do
Right.
you remember that one?
Yeah.
I've never found out anything that was a hoax. I never heard anything about that being a hoax. Bigfoot's
Maybe it's
back.
not.
That kid's
Maybe it's
talking
not.
like he sees Bigfoot out there all the time. And
Mhm.
I'm like, where the heck does this kid live?
Right. Well, that's interesting though, because
Yeah.
because
So
because yeah, this one I held close to my chest. I was like, oh man, I think
it's
that's
big news.
real.
People use it all the time,
Yeah.
for articles, for anything. You go online and they post certain pictures all the time. And this is one
It
of
just
those.
does. It looks.
Mhm.
It just kind of looks like you would think, and
I think,
it
yeah,
does.
the coloring looks right. And it doesn't look like fur, because you'll find that a lot of suits to me, they look like fur, not hair. In this
Right.
photo, it looks more like hair
Yeah.
on the body. Because see how
Yeah.
the ankles taper down?
Yeah.
That's
And
what
it's
I like to see when I'm looking at a Bigfoot photo. I'm looking at the ankles and the wrists, because there should be no cut off of fur. It should be a tapered, smooth hair line going all the way.
yeah, and it's just
So
it looks lanky and tall and kind of
yeah.
like where you might think you might see out there. So yeah, that's
Yep.
crazy.
For sure. So now we've got some news. So we always have, it's getting harder and harder to come up with new news feeds, okay? And I think you can see that by a lot of people who had news coming up on their channels, and
Yeah.
they're not doing them anymore. But I ran into one article that came out a couple of years ago, BBC online, The True Origin of Sasquatch. But what really drew me is that this article is very well detailed in the origin of Sasquatch for real, including the whole story with J.W. Burns in 1929 and how, you know, the name Sasquatch came about. So if you're ever looking for something where you want, you know, somebody asks you, well, where did Sasquatch name come from? You refer to this or print it out and have it. But the one thing that I ended up putting it in here was because it had my buddy Thomas Steenberg in it. And and as I was reading through it, it had on there the burden of proof lies in DNA. And I was like, oh, that's exactly what we were talking about, is the burden of proof. So hence this article made it to Bigfoot News. But if you'd like to read this full article, I do have it listed down in the description, and you guys can take a look at that.
Good stuff.
Pretty interesting. It has like all the pictures, some pictures, you know, the popular pictures of the Shibboleth, First Nations in there, and Thomas. So go take a look at that. And the next one was this one out of the National Guard, which I thought I had seen something about this before, but in this one, it's just going through the legend of Bigfoot. And of course, they all start the same, explaining what Bigfoot is, where it's found, how it was with the Salish. But at the end is what kind of caught me, that where is it? No, I don't have it. Oh, shoot. Did it not print out? It was the National Guard. It was using it. No. Right here. It's just very, very small. So the Washington Air National Guard adopted the mascot of Bigfoot and operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, monitoring the skies of nearly 73% of the United States and Canada. Just like the Bigfoot of legend, the sector is rarely seen and rarely heard, but rest assured it continues to observe, if necessary, serve as a messenger of warning. So I thought that was kind of cool that their National Guard there in Washington has a mascot.
Yes. You know what? That's an interesting statement and mascot to use.
and of course, Washington is nothing but Bigfoot stuff. You go into their grocery stores, and it's like there's Bigfoot everywhere. All the coffee has Bigfoot on it, all types of coffees, and it's very promotional based, commercialized there in Washington for sure.
I love what they're saying there. It's like, hey, we can see Bigfoot, so you don't have to worry about China. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah. I love
so be on the lookout. I'm not going to play that one. I'm just going to say that. So earlier I was talking about Kyle and how we have been making contacts with a lot of the people up there in or on the mountain related to the Mescalero Apache Indian tribe, and have been trying to get ins, because you really do need an in when you are working on the reservation, because they're their own little state and they get to kick you out if they want to kick you out. So we have several different contacts now, and we are working to hopefully get in touch with these people on a regular basis, including, I'm surprised I haven't seen Jody Kojo in the chat tonight, but he's a member of the tribal council. And of course we have our friend Adeline, who is also on the board there, and a few other people, a Joaquin and a Paul Lugo, that we want to get in touch with and see if they're interested in going out with us and exploring that area. And we hope to, I don't know, I might be putting a Squatch research team together, so we shall see what happens with that.
Oh, Nikki, really? Okay.
We might be doing that. It's Yeah,
Good luck.
gonna happen. But we're gonna try to have fun, Pat. That's all it is. We'll try to
Hey,
go
I
out there
won't. I
have
won't be
fun.
there to kill the music. I promise. I'll never
Okay.
kill your music, ever.
Yeah, we're gonna have fun. I'm gonna call it
Have
a
fun.
night. Enjoyed it, Nikki and Sasquatch Talk. Everyone else, have a great night. Good night, Friday House. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. Mountain Man, good to see you. Who else? Brown Dwarf came in. And Pat mentioned about making a buck off a Bigfoot. Here's the most apparent example. What? Pat mentioned making a buck off of Bigfoot. Here's the most apparent example. What were we talking about? That was a little bit ways back. So
yeah.
Probably Washington being so commercialized. I think that's about when
I was like, and maybe what I was talking about with money on the table. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard. Sometimes context. You know how chat is. It's like you don't.
Yeah, I know. I have to be watching it at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's commercialized, that kind of stuff. But as far as research groups, you're putting out way more than what you're bringing in. Unless you are running, even if you're running huge expeditions or conferences, you're still paying out a lot. And I don't think you kind of may break even and maybe make a little bit on the top, but
I was
for the heartache. I've seen people talking about the stuff that goes on at conferences and how hard it is to organize all these people, and I think you're not making a whole big old buck. And just like Hannah said from Squatch America, if you have the secret of making money with Bigfoot, let her know. But it's this is a passion.
Secret is find one. if you're even a part of any kind of effort to like make the most amazing biological discovery in human history, there's guaranteed millions of dollars there for you. So
yeah,
absolutely, 100%.
So Squatch has always been commercialized up here. That's what Grasshopper says. And Robert says, Jay Fritz, male and female deer have been doing that for years. What? Nothing wrong with making a buck. Okay, I get it now. I don't think there's anything wrong. If you can make a buck at Bigfoot, do it. Sell your stuff. I'll buy it. I buy everybody's stuff.
I think I made $10, and then I apply that to the hundreds of hours I put on YouTube being out there, and I'm making what, 2 cents an hour?
If that, and they just raised the prices of StreamYard by a lot. It wasn't like a couple of bucks. They raised it a lot, I thought. And I was like, dang.
I've actually seen a lot of pushback on that. I still just go free. I don't pay for StreamYard. I turned that off a long time ago. So it was like $25 a month. So we're talking what now?
It's $44.98 now the low one.
Oh wow!
And I was like, but dang, that's a big jump. It's a big jump, but I like to have my movie background. I like to have certain.
It's almost 100% increase.
I know. That's why it was so shocking. And you know what? They send an email saying we're gonna automatically up your thing. It's so you just roll right over into the new price.
Yeah.
I thought that was really sketchy, but
I mean,
but I like the platform. Okay, StreamYard. I do love your platform. It's easy to use.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't, even Zoom, Zoom has, is more complicated. StreamYard.
Yeah. I know I always get lost every time I go to get on Eric's show because I can never make everything work the first time.
Oh yeah, I know. That was kind of a, I'm not gonna say disaster, but it was like it was so disruptive to the show, like him trying to get you into it, you know? Like, yeah, it's like it took half
Can
an
you
hour.
hear me now?
It took half an hour. And it's like, I don't want to watch it.
Oh,
Like,
look
you
at that.
Yeah.
Scott says I made a Bigfoot commercial with Nike and made $1,800. That's a lot, dude.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna get Bigfoot sauce. Bigfoot sauce. Yeah, Bigfoot sauce sponsorship. Yeah. I'm gonna make like tens of dollars by doing that. I mean, obviously, Nikki, it's like, I mean, even you and I, like right now, if we wanted to, hey, let's start an encounter show, right? Thousands, tens of thousands of viewers.
Probably, yep.
Oh,
I don't have any doubt of that.
It's almost guaranteed
that could happen for sure.
I could have done that years ago. I decided not to. I said I don't, and that was back in the day, dude. There was only one real player in town, which was Wes. You know, and I was like, man, I could start an account and call it Squatch Talk, or I could do this other thing I want to do, which is kind of like campfire discussions, which were more based on, you know, like intellectual kind of like realities. And that's the direction I went. I could have easily went the other direction and not be working a job.
Is Steve having a show, you guys? Is he having, or
I didn't see anything
during the Whitehall thing, or
I didn't see anything. Nothing.
I didn't get notified, so
I'm not saying he is or isn't. I didn't see it. But yeah.
What?
I mean,
wait, what?
It's my.
I know why Sasquatch screams so loud.
Why?
Why?
Jay. Come on, Jay. Come on.
Oh, now he says no clue.
He said, yeah, but that's not a punchline. I thought you were going to give me a punchline.
Well, you gotta work on that one there, Jay.
Or maybe that went above our heads. Let's see, no
Could
clue.
be.
No clue. Why does I guess? I'd love a punchline.
Okay, then that's all I got for you guys tonight. Thank you for coming. Thanks, Pat, for jumping on and
thank
being
you
yourself.
For
being yourself.
having my voice on in the way, you know, present my voice these days, which is kind of new to you guys. But I appreciate that more than you know, actually.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it, and like I said, you know, I don't want to harbor any ill will to anybody that I don't have to. So there's enough of that going on already. But
no,
thank you for coming on. Thank you guys for being here. Don't forget to hit that like button before you leave. I only see 5 on my side. That cannot be real. Come on, there were 50 people in this chat a little while ago. Hit that like button before you leave. Make sure you share it around.
And subscribe.
Subscribe button, because sometimes they knock you off just for no reason whatsoever. Yeah. So we'll see you guys later, and I'll see you guys in the next chat. Bye.